because he basically was alluding to the fact that Jaylen Brown felt he was the best player for the Boston Celtics during this regular season, which he was, that he showed the Boston Celtics organization what he can do, which he did. He was in MVP conversations. We saw the numbers. He is a big reason why the team was a number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, they fell short in the postseason for different reasons. But what T-Mac is alluding to is that the return of Jason Tatum and him no longer being the number 1 option or being the guy, and Jason basically coming back to his position as that guy, the primary ball handler, upset Jaylen Brown.
Celtics are out of the playoffs, and per usual, there's no rest in asking what is next for this team. The main question as of right now, because of course it can always change, is Jaylen Brown. He was crucial to the Celtics doing so well this season, averaging a career high almost 29 points per game. He also had a career high in rebounds and assists. Now that said, the season ended in frustration for him. He was very mad at the officiating, got fined for it. But many are wondering if he's also frustrated with his own team. Here's more from C's president, Brad Stevens.
Nothing but positive. He has not expressed those frustrations to me. We've been here 10 years together, and I do think that, obviously I love JB, and everybody around here loves JB. And, I think just like any of our other guys, as we get to the end of the season, I'll be here, and my door's always open. And if anybody ever wants to come in and talk about it and talk about, their team, their place, whatever the case may be, I'm all ears. And that would be 1 through 16, not just, not just Jaylen, not just Jason, not just the guys that have been here. I think it's really important to be available. So I certainly am, and none of that has been expressed to me. So
here's what Jaylen Brown put out on X. Clickbait is like flopping for the media, exaggerating contact. Y'all be safe out here. Ashley Nicole Moss, we're about to talk to her in a second. She's on set. I asked her what this means. Homegirl could not even answer. She just rolled her eyes. And now Jaylen Brown likely finding maybe some frustration with Hall of Famer Tracy McGrady because he thinks differently. Here's what he had to say on Cousins with Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady.
His frustration lies deeply within the organization and other things that, of course, we don't really have details to. There's just been a lot of stuff, that I've been hearing just going on with the Boston organization, with JB, so I think part of him is like, I showed you guys more of who I am as a basketball player, not only just, what I did on the basketball court, but the leadership that I displayed within, this team. And you've seen that, not having our, best player in JT. You've seen a different side of me and what I'm able to bring to the game of basketball. So all that stuff, I think just came into play with him and his frustration.
It's the best reality TV we have, the NBA. Ashley Nicole Moss joining us. It is true, because there's always something going on. Okay, how do we begin to read into all of this? Where does the truth lie, do you think?
Somewhere in the middle, as it usually does. But I think the thing for me, and again, this is T-Mac's interpretation of what Jaylen Brown said. This is T-Mac's interpretation of the conversation he had with Jaylen Brown. And I want to make sure that I say that I don't think T-Mac is lying. I don't think Brad Stevens is lying. But the truth is somewhere in the middle. What T-Mac said to me, though, was a little bit concerning because he basically was alluding to the fact that Jaylen Brown felt he was the best player for the Boston Celtics during this regular season, which he was, that he showed the Boston Celtics organization what he can do, which he did. He was in MVP conversations. We saw the numbers. He is a big reason why the team was a number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, they fell short in the postseason for different reasons. But what T-Mac is alluding to is that the return of Jason Tatum and him no longer being the number 1 option or being the guy, and Jason basically coming back to his position as that guy, the primary ball handler, upset Jaylen Brown. And if that's the case, if that's true, that's problematic for a number of reasons. One being the situation in Boston has always been Jaylen is 1B, Jason is 1A. Obviously, those roles can vary depending on the night. We saw Jaylen Brown win Finals MVP and Conference Finals MVP and be a big reason why the Celtics were able to win the championship. But what T-Mac is saying, or what he's alluding to, is that that role is no longer good enough for Jaylen Brown. And if that's the case, now you have a point of contention between the roles of two players, the solidified roles of two players, proven roles of two players. Jason Tatum's at his best when the ball is in his hand. That is when he succeeds the most. And Jaylen Brown is best when he's playing off ball from that. If that no longer works, now you have an issue on your hands if you're the Boston Celtics organization. So I want to make it clear, if that's what the implication was, that's not something that can just be taken as, oh, he's just upset because, they didn't advance in the poll. That's an issue with the foundation of what makes the Boston Celtics successful, and that's a bigger issue.
Jason Tatum, of course, dealing with that Achilles injury, and then he had the knee injury in the postseason. Okay, so let me ask you this. If he were to move on, what are some potential teams where he could go?
I think Jaylen Brown can fit in a multitude of places and spaces. I think we've all seen the Milwaukee Bucks situation with him being traded for Giannis Antetokounmpo and that being a swap. Obviously, that helps with the Boston Celtics when it comes to size, around the rim, things that they're kind of missing. And then you talk
Warriors Nation News. Dub Nation, let me ask you something that sounds wild but also weirdly real the second you think about this offseason. What if the Warriors do not need another small move? What if they need a real co-star next to Steph Curry? And that name is Jaylen Brown. Listen, that idea is starting to make noise because the Celtics season ended with real frustration around Brown, and the discussion around his future has gotten louder after Boston's early playoff exit. The text you shared centers on exactly that tension. Brown's huge season, his leadership, the frustration in the building, and the feeling that his place next to Jason Tatum could become one of the biggest stories of the summer. And here is why Warriors fans should pay attention. Jaylen Brown is not just a name, he is a fit. He is a downhill scorer, a physical wing, a two-way player, and the kind of athlete Golden State has badly needed more of around Steph. The recent reporting around Boston says Brown is still central to the Celtics' plans, but trade speculation has absolutely picked up after the season, especially with people questioning how Boston wants to build around Tatum long-term. Tracy McGrady said he has heard Brown is frustrated with the organization, while Brad Stevens publicly answered that Brown has not expressed frustrations directly to him. That does not prove a trade is coming, but it absolutely tells you the conversation is alive. Now, flip that to the Warriors. Golden State just finished 37-45, got knocked out in the play-in, and Steve Kerr's future is still unresolved, while Mike Dunleavy Jr. remains in place on a multi-year extension. So if you were the Warriors, you have one giant question to answer. How do you maximize what is left of Steph Curry's championship window without wasting another year? That is where a player like Jaylen Brown becomes fascinating. He can score without needing to dominate the ball every second, he can defend bigger wings, and he brings real shot creation that the Warriors have missed when teams load up on Steph. Would it be easy? No chance. It would take a major package, major sacrifice, and Boston would have to truly believe a reset is needed. ESPN's offseason outlook still frames the Celtics as trying to stay competitive around Brown rather than rushing to move him, so this is not something anyone should present as done or close. But as a Warriors idea, as a pressure move, as a swing that actually matches Steph's timeline, it makes real basketball sense. Brown gives Golden State athletic force, rim pressure, wing scoring, and star power without asking Steph to carry every brutal possession by himself. So here's my take. If Jaylen Brown truly becomes available, the Warriors should be on that phone immediately. Not because it's easy, not because it's likely tomorrow, because this is the level of move Golden State should be thinking about right now. Steph Curry is still too great for small dreams. Dub Nation, tell me right now, if Jaylen Brown became available, would you want the Warriors to go all in and bring him to the Bay? Drop your opinion in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to Warriors Nation News.